Hey, good people. Sammy Ash here, Executive Director of the Ash Academy, and your host of your favorite show discussing culture, identity, academics, and career. Yes, our Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. We are just over a week away from our virtual Mentors and Mimosas Gala. We're showcasing art in so many forms. We're talking music, dance, drawing, and filmmaking. Plus, we've got a lineup of speakers that will shed some light on working in the arts and STEM fields. Now, while we wait, you can not only grab your tickets to the event, be sure to join us in the VIP section, but we just launched our silent auction so you can start bidding on all the gift packages we've got on display. Head over to 32auctions.com/mentors and mimosas 2020. That's 32auctions.com/mentors and mimosas 2020. And this will also be in the description box. Now let's get started with the show. Welcome, everybody, once again to another episode of the Ash Academy's Inspire, Uplift, Engage podcast. I am Sammy Ash, the Executive Director of the Ash Academy and your host. Today, we are joined by Kalif Fuller, who is an independent filmmaker and a product specialist at X2X Media, which is a tech company that services the entertainment industry. So, super excited to have you here. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, first off, like independent filmmaker, we have an idea of what that is, but what exactly do you do as a product specialist?
So I am responsible for, I'm pretty much client facing. I work with um, various clients that we have at the company, and I pretty much make sure that they're happy with how they are using our products, whether that be our dailies and cuts distribution platform, which is an application that they view their materials on, or there was a endeavor the company's done the last few years where we've been developing some hardware and been developing a few different proofs of concepts, and I've been going on different sets and you know kind of working in tandem with filmmakers on, how that should be and how it should go and how it should be used and all that. So overall, it's kind of coming up with a plan with some of our engineers and our leadership, and then I'm kind of the boot on the ground that goes and takes it to our clients and tests it in the field.
Awesome. So in a way, you kind of embody both the arts and the STEM, or like the tech side of STEM. Um, how is that living in kind of a in the middle?
It's interesting because they're very different worlds. The entertainment industry and filmmaking and TV and it's definitely more craft driven, more arts driven, more slightly more blue collar. Whereas the STEM world's more analytical and it's you're kind of with a group of people in a room and you're going over various code bases and all of this other stuff that is definitely over my head. But it's been very cool. It's been a fun ride to peek behind that curtain because my background is primarily in filmmaking. So and just that world. So it's been cool to see the tech world and how it works and different types of characters that you have compared to different type of characters in film sets. And so it's it's been cool to get the best of both worlds. I think now that filmmaking's become digital, we're starting to see the blending of the two worlds, at least more so than ever before. You
Mhm.
couldn't really do it with celluloid. So
Awesome. Let's take it back and go through your journey of the arts. Like how did you get to the filmmaking path?
well, I have been into films and making films since I was probably um, you know late middle school, and around the time of the first few years of high school, kind of was just like, I want to be involved in filmmaking. That's what I want to do in my life. And so I went to, film school, and I at the University of Kansas, and shout out to Jayhawk Nation. And and when I was in college, I just started, working in the Kansas City market world, of indie films, making my own films, working on other people's films, and just started off as like, a PA, and then I moved out to LA and kind of got into what I call my rookie year of of the majors, and was fortunate enough to work on some pretty big productions, and I PA for quite a while, and then just happens to turn out that as I'm looking for the next thing, the next option, the next show, a friend of mine told me his brother works for this company called Pix, and they're hiring, and they're looking for people, and they just happened to catch me at the right time, in the right mindset, in the right, just everything. And so I met up kind of casually, saying, just wanting to get information, and me and the person I met up with, we just, we hit it off, and it just seemed like a good fit. And I've been there now, 5.5 years, and went from, being lower on the totem pole to being, a lot slightly less lower on the totem pole, and things have been well. It's been good.
Awesome. That's quite a pivot, though. So did you have any teachers along the way or professors along the way that kind of opened your eyes to, hey, there isn't just one way of filmmaking, or there isn't just one job on set, like there's so much more. I have seen some commentary where some programs are a little bit limiting as to what you discover in terms of filmmaking, and there's just so much more, especially you working for a tech company that supports the entertainment industry, like that kind of broadening horizons. Were you privy to that beforehand? Was it brand new once you got into?
Totally brand new, and it wasn't something that I was expecting. Like the reason I made the move was because of a few different reasons, but I was expecting there to be some type of employment opportunity, as far as like, down the road, future wise, not employment opportunity, employment, excuse me, I can't speak, advancement. And that's one of the main reasons why I joined X2X Pix at the time, was because of that option. And it was kind of a gamble, but it's paid off quite nicely. And so, I feel very, very fortunate that it has. Yeah.
Awesome. So what's the most challenging part of your job?
Getting technology and getting technology to play nice with the paradigms of the film world. Those are two different worlds, or they're two different workflows, or two different ways of thinking. And the goal is to, try to get that square peg into that round hole. That's always tough. Anybody that's been on set a day in their life knows that, things are very quick. They are very point A to point B as quickly as you can possibly do it, as efficiently as you can possibly do it. And development in the tech world needs to be thorough and slow and methodical, and it's just a different approach. So getting those two to come together is tough.
Testing, getting things wrong, fixing the wrong thing, finding out
Trial and
something
error.
broke.
Yeah. Having everything right except one thing. So yeah.
Awesome. So on the flip side, what's like the most rewarding part of your job?
Ooh. I would say a few things. One, when you figure out, when you get a solution and it works, and it's a major time saver, and it's a major problem solver, for both the people that are making it, but also the people that the tool that you're making services. That's always a nice win for everybody. And then, I'm fortunate that I work with really good people. get along. They're just really great human beings and nice people, and friendly people, and family people, and so that's all. It's always nice because we've all. I feel like the majority of us in this world have had bad jobs, or worked with bad people, or people we don't necessarily like, and that for me and my personality is not going to work. So it's been nice to it's been nice to not have to deal with that.
That was a disclaimer, everyone. Just, figure it out. So obviously on set, being a people person is a huge thing, or just being able to work with so many different departments is a huge thing. But coming from the tech side of things and being support, how are things different or the same compared to the two experiences?
Like how are the worlds different, or how
Yeah,
is mine?
like for you, yeah, specifically.
I would say that there's the old adage, kind of like hurry up and wait in the film world, and that's really true. Where you need to get there on time, and you do what you have to do, and you get set up and you get ready to go, and then we're at the whim of whenever it's time to shoot, or whenever the sun's right, or whenever whenever the actor's ready, the director's ready. Whereas in the tech world, there's just kind of like today the plan is this, and it's not as much hurry up and wait as it's just you are methodically and just every minute just kind of chipping away at it until till 3 weeks passes, 6 weeks passes, however long, and then you've like reached your mile marker, or you haven't reached your mile marker. So they're different in that. Excuse me, they're different in those two ways. For me, I enjoy both. It just depends on the day. Sometimes you just want to you just want to get it done. You want to sprint through it and kind of just be done with it. And that's the film side. And then some other times, it's you want to just kind of like take it at your own pace and not not hurry up and wait. You kind of just want to go slowly and get through it. So.
This has been quite a year. I can't name all the things that have affected multiple industries, but how has like COVID and kind of just social justice at large affected you during this time? It might be slightly different than just productions coming to a close or pausing for however long and then kind of starting back up. But how were you affected during this time?
Well, I mean, I think that this year's been unprecedented. For me, the COVID thing has been obviously just extremely different and unusual, and not something that I personally was prepared for it being this big. I thought, I was like, okay, 2 weeks, we'll chill, everybody stays away from each other. And the fact that it's continually going on and it's at the scale that it's at and so many people died has been, it's changed my outlook on just how quickly, pandemics work and how they spread, and just a thing that I had never really thought about or considered. And so that's, on an existential level, has made me think about things.
I mean, I've had my own various levels of denial throughout this whole just like, oh yeah, a week. Like, no, like this is not a week-long issue. Like we have
No,
shut down whole industries. That's not a week problem.
dude, Hollywood's been around for 125 years, and it just shut down. It was just like not going, and that's never happened. So yeah, that was pretty major as far as the social, a lot of the social justice things happening this year. A lot of it's been obviously infuriating for me personally, and frustrating, and good at the same time, in the sense that the activity and the movements and the protesting and the standing up for what you believe in has been refreshing. And it's been nice to see that it's not just coming from the Black community. Being myself a Black man, I'm pleased to see that other people are also. It's not just us at a protest. It's been primarily, young people of various races, which has been very great, and middle-aged people too, a little bit. And so I'm hoping that the power in numbers can help turn the tide, but it's been frustrating. It's been a lot of anger and annoyance and frustration this year in regards to that. So
on our very first episode, we discussed tokenism. So we kind of pulled back the curtain on the corporate world and how, just the inner workings. And, these are touchy subjects, I completely understand, but like organizations do have to figure out a way to touch on the times. It's terrible that there was a pandemic and then things that have been happening for numerous years all at once kind of get rushed at the same time. So how did it affect it? How did it affect you, like in the, I guess, corporate space or just like team wise?
It's been very good from a corporate level, from my perspective, in the sense that it's now a topic of discussion. I mean, just 6 months ago, 7 months ago, no companies wanting to talk about it. And I don't mean just my company. I mean, like, no company's really interested in talking about it. It's one of those quote unquote uncomfortable subjects that HR can deal with and we don't want to discuss. And I think after the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, where you started to see the tide turn and more companies were just like outwardly, whether for good or bad reason, not whether for genuine or disingenuous reasons, they were doing it. And at this point, I think that's good. It's better to say something and have those conversations and say where you stand than to not. And for my company, we were a part of that as well. Our CEO and HR, head of HR, were just like, hey, let's put together a focus group. I want to know from the workforce how you think the culture is, how at the company, how we should, any suggestions that we can be given moving forward. There was a proactive approach. I think that it was started by not to toot my own horn, but I did post something. We have a company-wide IM, and I did post something in there about George Floyd, and that led to a few different things, and it ultimately led to the CEO and our head of HR wanting to form this focus group. And so that's something that I think is even a year ago, I don't really think I would have, somebody told me that, I wouldn't have really bought it. I would have been like, oh, that's wishful thinking. For any company to I think I saw Netflix and HBO, they came out with these strong worded statements, these public statements, which was great to see after George Floyd was murdered. Shout out to Ben and Jerry's. Ben and Jerry's was not playing. They went hard in the paint. Shout out to them. Love that statement. And so just, I'm being long-winded, so sorry. But to answer your question, for me, things seem to be happening. It's not this taboo thing that we want to not discuss anymore, or not give attention to anymore nationally, we meaning all of us as a country. And it's been good to see, but there's a lot of work to do still.
Well, how did it make you feel when finally made that transition and that turning point? Like, okay, like we're willing to engage on these matters, because it's not the first time. Like Black Lives Matter, to put a name on it, like it's been established for many years. There are movements of the past that we can name that are like similar, stances on just letting people live. But like, this isn't the first time. So how did it make you feel when it was a lot more engagement and positive reception?
It made me feel, I don't know what the right word is. I would say it made me want to be more, I guess actually the word is observe. I started to observe specifically within the company, and what other people, how they were responding, how they were engaging in the discussion. It made me observe what people were doing more, because I don't want to say it like it gave me hope or anything like that, because I'm pretty pessimistic about my social issues, as far as just history tells us the good guy never really
I'm trying to
wins.
like clean it up and like these have been happening for centuries, but like we're
Yeah,
finally
so
getting
it's
to it.
like,
You're like,
so I'm
well,
not like
it's great
hopeful,
now.
but I'm like hopeful. You know what I'm saying? I'm not hopeful, but I'm
Yeah.
like hopeful. But I've been observing people, and people seem to be engaging in dialogue and posting things, and that is a good thing. And hopefully that continues, and hopefully action is put into place. And I feel fortunate that I don't think I mentioned this, but I'm the head or the leader, whatever, of this focus group at my company, and we've been having some really positive discussions in ways that we can bring, we can actively contribute to more equity and inclusion and diversity, not only at the company, but also just educating people, not meaning Kalif educating people, but bringing in professionals to do that. And I think that the company being very supportive of that has been a nice thing to see, and a nice thing to, any pushback would have made me feel a certain type of way, but it's been very positive and open to that. So it's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, we launched this on Juneteenth, and I feel very strongly the conversation piece about all of this and constant contact of constantly going, "Oh, okay, we need to talk about this," and it's not one like there's not a town hall on social issues and then we're good. Like
Yeah.
we need to constantly, there's not one vote and then never talk to that candidate again. Like you have to keep
Yeah.
conversations going, and it doesn't matter partisan wise or which way people are leaning. I'm talking about any issues that you feel that you would like changed. It's going to be a consistent conversation to keep that,
For
and
sure.
maybe you want more things after you get that next that next thing.
And it has to be that way, because that's the only way you get changes. You talk about something until it becomes the norm, and then you work on the next thing. Meaning that what you're talking about on the change has become the norm. I remember so many people. I'm from Denver city. I'm a city kid, like from the city, not like the burbs or the outside, like from the city. And then I went to college in the country, or what is country to me. And and I remember when Obama got elected. He got elected when I was in college, and I remember there just being this sentiment of good people, totally fine, nice white people, totally not like bad or anything like that, but just kind of, even if they weren't outwardly saying it, there was this notion that like this election has kind of ended racism, and we don't need to discuss issues anymore. We can move on
I
to the
guess
next thing.
the post-racial America.
Yeah,
I
exactly. And
fondly remember
so,
that.
yeah, and so that type of thinking has been problematic, because it does exactly what you just said. It just ends the conversation, and there's this assumption that, well, check that off the box. What's next? And it's like, no, 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 no. The conversation must continue, and this is just one
Yeah,
not bad spot.
yeah. Wow. There is so much more there, but we will put a pin in that. I want to go back to career-wise. You're doing some great work, and it's for some it could be burdensome. So I'm very glad that you are finding it rewarding to do that and kind of spearhead that initiative. So much appreciated, especially if you're going to be impacting beyond your actual company. So great. What is some of the worst advice you have received career-wise?
Oh man. Um, like out, like just in general and like my life.
And just someone said something and it stuck with you as like, do not listen to that.
Oh, probably like something like, don't speak your mind, don't say how you feel, don't just kind of like come in and be quiet and just work. And if you work hard enough, they'll notice you. And don't risk anything. Don't listen to your gut. Like just keep your head down and drive forward. That type of vague worker bee mindset, I think, is ridiculous. I don't think it's never helped me. It's never helped me. Like I feel like I have a strong intuition. And so whenever my gut says something, whenever it's like, I need to say this, or I need to do this, or I need to, like, this needs to be fixed, or this is a problem, it's always benefited me from a professional standpoint to actually listen to that and do that. And one or two people once in college and then once just randomly was just like, yeah, don't, you need to just like not make waves. Not that you make waves, just like, people like people who just come in and do their job. And it's like, well, everybody likes nobody wants to get pushback, but that doesn't mean it's it's good career advice. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah.
It's actually quite interesting that you say that, because I feel like the people who actually end up moving up and the people who have the followings and like the thought leaders are people who broke the rules and who did not just quietly go, like, that's not how you make your lane. It's just being quiet and sticking down to doing whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
great that that's terrible advice that you have not listened to. But was that a process for you to refute that? Or was it immediately like, okay, I know not to listen to that? Did you ever like go with the flow and then eventually like, this is not working, I'm not doing that anymore?
It was a bit of a process, because I'm a pretty independent minded person. So I don't really listen to, not my gut. I kind of like base everything on like logic and reason and then proceed accordingly. However, I am a team player. So sometimes, especially when you're new to something, especially when I was younger, if somebody says, hey, like, here's some information, you should consider it, a part of me is just like, oh yeah, like maybe they're just looking out for me, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't take that what's real and what's not. It only takes a little while to be like, oh, they were spot on, or that person was a moron. and it ended up being the latter. So it's just like, I'm not listening to that. That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. So sure, maybe for a week or two, or maybe a little longer. And then you start, if you're, perceptive, you start noticing the environment you're in and how that advice is probably not useful to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is the best advice you've gotten?
Ooh, the best advice I've gotten two sets. I've gotten one general one from just like my dad in general, who was always just like, no matter what, use common sense. Like, if you see something wrong, like, you should say something, and if you know something is right, you should proceed accordingly. Like, you should listen to your instinct, especially if you're engaged in a culture or in a job, and you're doing the work, you're putting in the hours, what's up, what's going on. So if you're in there, do the right thing, work hard, do the common sense approach, and you'll be good. And that's always served me really well. And then another one was from an old college professor, but it's really stuck with me. And that was, sure, there's like the work hard and, show up on time and all that, but really it was like, you need to be there wherever that is, whether that's me moving out to LA to pursue the filmmaking industry or anything. You need to be in a place that breeds what you're trying to accomplish, and by working hard and being like nice to people and speaking your mind and being a good person about it. Like, if you're there and you're engaged and you're focused, then you give yourself an ability to maneuver accordingly and to achieve your goals, because you're there. You can't do anything from the sidelines. You can't do anything if, well, what the dream is and the goal is professionally is in Florida, but you live in New Hampshire. Even in today's Zoom world and today's virtual world, like, you need to be active and engaged. And that was something that's always stuck with me.
Awesome. Being present is everything.
Yeah.
So you did mention a professor just now, but I want to know, did you have any mentors along the way formally, or where did you pull some mentorships? Or if you didn't, we also love to hear that people are doing great things that did not have a mentor.
That's that. Nah, that's that Kanye stuff right there. I had no help. I did it all by myself.
I inspire me.
I exactly. Hard to be humble when you stunting on a jumbotron. No, yeah, no, I for sure, starting first and foremost with my, my family, like, my parents have always been big influences on me, and my grandmothers and my uncles and aunts. They've always been just a lot of support. I come from a big family, and they've always been extremely supportive. So for sure, my family, because they will grill you if you're wrong, and they will praise you when you're right. And I think that's just always good parameters for me growing up. But also, yeah, I had two college professors that were really great. They were both film professors. They were both the only two Black professors in film at my school, and they made films and docu-series about Black people. And for a Black kid from the city who wasn't from Kansas to kind of see that and see what they were working on, and these guys were in their 50s and 60s, but like to kind of have seen their careers as far as what they had done in the past and knew some of it beforehand. That was always pretty cool to me. And like, I don't know, it just made it more tangible. It made the idea of making films and being involved in the entertainment industry and, in the now, tech industry, that more tangible, because these were guys that made films and then they became teachers, and they kind of made this transition to like something that they hadn't really anticipated, but it worked really well for them. And so they were both big mentors for me, and they always gave me great advice, and we're just good guys.
Awesome. How important has that representation been for you, just navigating your own career?
It's been very important, because there's not a lot of Black people in the film or the tech industry, and or they're not nearly as much as there should and could be.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does say something when the two of my bigger non-related mentors at a young age were both Black men who were in an underrepresented industry. And so that's been huge. I'm sorry, what was the second? What was the I kind of forgot some of it.
But just the representation, how important that has been for you.
Oh yeah, the representation's been huge. I'm pleased to see that it's growing each year in both industries. It's something that honestly, I think more and more people are starting that are in positions of power in the industry are starting to like become aware of it. I think due to some of the stuff going on this year in both film and entertainment and tech. And I think now the key is how do we create resources and cultivate more diverse candidates, because it's not some inherent thing somebody's born with. You can learn it, but you just have to cultivate the talent,
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
important to me, and I hope that happens. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Do you have any advice for any of the youth right now, students of color who are looking to pursue maybe something like a hybrid of yourself, or like going into film or going into tech? Like, what would you recommend to them?
I would say become a student of whatever either one you're interested in. Really be interested in it for, become passionate about it. I think that any person that's hiring somebody any industry, any company that sees somebody young that's energetic and they already have a passion for it or an interest for it, and they have a good attitude, and they're like, you know, they're just they can do basic common sense stuff, is just huge. That's just like, that's a huge benefit, as opposed to somebody that, I don't know, you know, who's like moderately interested, and they kind of, sure, they have a 4.0, but they're not really passionate about it, and they kind of have an attitude, and they're not really engaged. I don't care if you were the valedictorian of your Ivy League school, nobody wants to work with that guy or that guy. Like, you know, so I would say, you
Unless
know,
the energy's right. Unless your energy's right, okay.
well, it's one of those things where I'm not a big resume guy, meaning that I think that, you know, people having a great resume is great, but for me, that doesn't in any way put you in a better position, or make you a better employee, or make you a more valuable coworker than the next person who didn't have as great of a resume, if they're more engaged, and if they're truly looking to connect the dots, and truly looking to solve problems, and they're a joy to be around. Like, that type of stuff is huge. And I feel like most people that, you know, have done really well in both industries are people that are like passionate about coding, and they like solving problems, and they like they like figuring out solutions, and they're organized about it, and they have an ethic to it. You know, I know people that work I know costumers that are like, no, the hanger always goes this way no matter what. And it's not like being anal to be anal. It's like there's an ethic to how they approach their craft. Same thing with, I know some people that do back end coding for you know, various services, and they like everything a certain type of way because they're so into it. They're students of it. They actually have been able to form an opinion on the minutia of it, you know, and a preference. And I just think that serves as how much they're into what they do. And they're also awesome people to be around. And I think that's great.
Yeah, it's also very easy to break things in HTML if things are not set out correctly. So
This is true.
there is a rhyme and reason to it. And I'm sure with your craft too, like, we might not see it on the outside looking in, but that hanger going a certain way does matter when you're pulling it out. So then there we go. Like that means something. And just the whole flow on set, the whole flow while I'm doing my job, just do it the way that I ask you to do it, and we're good. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. And that's the thing, is it's it's something we can all understand. We all have our little idiosyncrasies that we just, you know.
And now I think this is the perfect time to segue into our Q&A section, where we do our Inspire, Uplift, Engage questions. So let's do that. Who is your biggest inspiration?
My biggest inspiration. That's always one that's tough. It's like my favorite movie. There's so many inspirations out there. You know, I'm a big family guy, so, you know, I always have to, you know, show love to the family. My parents, I value them so much. And also, you know, if we're talking like known people, you know, there's a lot of filmmakers whose work I'm very just vital to me. Quick backstory. When I was in 8th grade, my mom got this deal on a cable box, and so we got like an additional cable box. And I have a sister who's a few years older than me, and she was in her rebellious phase, and so her and my mom were beefing. So she was like, guess what, your brother's getting the cable box in his room and not you. And this was great. This was amazing, because we got, like, for the first time ever in my house, we got like every channel ever. And my mom, who isn't necessarily a movie person, and she doesn't, she didn't know what she had just done. She just gave me Pandora's box because I was able to watch everything I ever wanted to watch. And so I was watching, movies like Goodfellas and, Boogie Nights and Fight Club and Do the Right Thing and all these just, I'm a big fan of a lot of the 90s filmmakers and who were, a lot of them were inspired by the 70s, the filmmakers of the 70s. And so I just started consuming all of these movies because at that point for me, like, I just thought movies were kind of like action movies. That was like a movie, or like animated movies, or like rom-coms. I didn't really know that they were like films could mean something or do something. And so from that point on, I started watching all these type of films, and to this day, a lot of those first films I just really dove into. The probably first 6 to 8 weeks of getting that cable box, I was able to just pick up a lot. And so, the Martin Scorsese's of the world, and the Spike Lee's of the world, and the David Finchers and the Soderberghs of the world, and the Paul Thomas Anderson, like a lot of just Tarantino. A lot of my favorite filmmakers today are the ones whose films I watched for the first time in that little bubble. So yeah, I would definitely say them. I love, I'm a big fan of stand-up comedy, so I love like Dave Chappelle. I think he's a genius on the highest level for what he's able to do in his talents. Love rap, so like Nas, Dr. Dre.
Awesome.
A lot of a lot of Michael Jordan. A lot of the Jordan. I love that Jordan mentality. That's how I try to approach a lot of things.
Awesome. All right. So, who do you hope to uplift with your work?
Oh man, I would say anybody that it resonates with. I mean, I when it comes to my work at X2X, that mainly my coworkers and anybody that uses our tools for their production that can find those tools to be useful to their workflow. That they find, hey, this helps our day, this makes our life easier. That's always a good feeling to hear that. So that's somebody I'm always looking to uplift. As far as my films go, anybody that resonates with what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to say. A lot of my films are based, they're not always social commentary, but they're pretty tangible. And so, anybody that the art resonates with, I hope that they feel what I was trying to express is resonates with them, and they are able to connect with it.
Great. So, final question is, how do you stay engaged with your motivation?
Oh boy, I think it's hardwired. I don't know if I want to do it. I don't really want to do anything else. Like I'm a big sports person, and so sports is and I'm prefacing because sports is kind of like my getaway when I need to like not look at a movie or not dissect the sequence or write or talk about movies. Like I kind of go to sports. That's kind of like my getaway. But it's I'm pretty much always game. It's like a part of my daily schedule. It's kind of like working out a muscle for me. I'm either prepping something or I'm writing something or sure, I have days off. Don't get me wrong. I have like the weekends where I kind of don't. Yeah, but pretty much I work my work schedule. I work out and then I work on my film stuff after that. And then watch an hour or two of TV and call it a day. So it's just kind of just what I do. It's all I really am interested in doing. And then occasionally watching a sports game and the occasional political rant. That's about it. That's all you get from Kalif.
Hey, I had to escape. I have to watch reality TV. So, every once in a while I'll catch myself looking at the editing and I'm like, you're really creating this situation that doesn't exist, but whatever.
Stay in this zone. Don't get out of it. Yeah. I do that. I can't actually watch award shows because all I do is just start breaking down. I'm like, okay, so they have like a 8 camera setup and they got a jib and like, you just start seeing the how it's crafted,
Hmm. Those award shows have been very interesting during COVID too, because they've been having to pivot. I've seen like the transitions between like pre-recorded stuff that's just in random locations,
Mhm.
and then now I think we've figured out some sort of way to social distance and be back on set. So they're still using the studios and whatnot. Um, yeah, very very interesting seeing how that's happened in a matter of months. Like I know you're
You know
not
it's gonna
trying to
be
watch those.
it's gonna be funny is like 10 years, 20 years from now when they jump back to reference some year of an award show and they're like, and then back in 2020, and it's just like this like unfilled auditorium with like one person on. It's just gonna be like, oh, that was the COVID year.
Yep. It's going to be very interesting to look back at this year just in history. Like 5 years from now, be like, yeah, we don't talk about 2020. It was just that year.
Oh man, what a trash year.
There have been, there have been some great things that have happened, like this interview, you know.
This is true.
Speaking of which, what's new for you or what's next for you? Do you have any projects that you have working on the side? What can we
Yeah.
expect from you?
Yes, I am in the midst of shooting a short right now. I started principal photography in January, then COVID hit, so I had to change the production schedule a little bit. And so I'm actually going to continue shooting next month, and it's my fifth short film, and I'm very excited about it. And I'm doing that, and I'm in the midst of writing a feature, and so yeah, things are coming together and coming along, and I feel good about it. And at X2X things are going great too. We have a lot of development going on, and are very happy about our tools and services and products, and
Awesome.
um, we're gonna continue to keep pumping out good stuff.
All right. How can people get in contact with you? Stay
You
up
can
to
get
date?
in you can get in contact with me on my Twitter, which is just at kfullz FULLZ 1124, or my Instagram, which is just kfullz FULLZ. So yeah, I'm
Perfect.
pretty friendly guy.
We'll put that in the description box. This was Kalif Fuller, everyone. I'm Sammy Ash, Executive Director of the Ash Academy, and thank you guys for joining us. Bye.